Marlene Watson-Tara is a long-time vegan, activist, lover of animals, nature and life, and passionate about human ecology. She is an eternal optimist, increasing the number of people worldwide to switch to a whole food, plant-based diet and vegan life is her mission. Together with her husband Bill Tara, they have created the Human Ecology Project. As a high-profile and dedicated health counsellor and teacher with over 40 years' experience, Marlene's dietary advice draws from the fields of macrobiotic nutrition, her studies in traditional Chinese medicine, and her certification in plant-based nutrition from the T. Colin Campbell Centre for Nutrition Studies. Her clients range from the movies and arts to members of royal families. In the last 10 years, she has been teaching chefs the art and skill of whole food, plant-based cooking and nutrition. As a regular columnist for many health magazines and websites, she shares her knowledge on living healthily. Her vast experience informs a body of knowledge that she eagerly shares with the world. As the international author of the best-selling book, Macrobiotics for All Seasons, Marlene teaches alongside her husband Bill and have graduates from the Macrobiotic Vegan Health Coach Program in 27 countries. She is a driving force for health and fitness to all who cross her path. Her Ultimate Health Experience workshops have been offered in Europe, America, and Australia over the last 3 decades. She has experienced many life challenges and come out the other side with her huge gratitude for life still intact. She is not bogged down with some overriding theory to prove. For her, there is no dogma. She teaches what she does and has an open mind. When she teaches, the most common sound in the room is laughter, from her and her students. Her desire to help others is as genuine as her no-nonsense approach to what works. You will enjoy Marlene's new book, Go Vegan. The information is simple, direct, and effective, and the recipes are delicious. If you follow Marlene's advice, you will be better for it. After all, that's what she guarantees. Her favourite saying, if you don't look after your body, then where are you going to live? You can follow both Marlene and Bill's work on macrovegan.org. Thank you, Marlene.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming back to listen to my little dulcet tones. I always have a lot to say. So little time. So I've had to condense what I want to say down to 45 minutes. As Mahesh said, health, animals, nature, life has been at the heart of my work for 40 years. Right now, we look today at the devastation of the environment. I don't want to go over what Bill was saying, the disease that Dr. Kay was talking about. So I want to try and, say how do we get out of this and how do we move forward and create a healthier world for everyone that lives here. When the winds of change come, and they are coming, big time, fast and furious, you need to have a strong foundation. And for me, that strong foundation is living a vegan life. That is the only way, it's the only thing that's ever made sense to me, because everything else that Michael and Bill have been talking about, and you're going to hear from Gary and Alpesh, it's all together, it's all connected. So that's where I'm, excuse me, going to go with my message to you all today. So why go vegan? Well, obviously we all have different areas of our life that's important to us. It could be for the animals, it could be for the environment, it could be for the people that are starving. For me, common sense tells me that we cannot continue to live the way we've lived, so we must stop the demand. And how do we stop the demand? We stop purchasing animal products. Then the sales will plummet, and then new products will come to market, not fake meats, but more products that are whole foods, grains, beans, pulses, and what have you. And then the industrial food systems will have to accommodate, because the food industry want to give us what we want. That's the issue. They want to give us and deliver. Excuse me, something's causing me an allergy. They want to give us what we want. So if we could feed the world, and we can, if we stopped feeding all the grain to the animals and the livestock, there wouldn't be anybody starving. And if you believe that, like I do, that we're all connected, we are all one, there's 1 billion people right now starving in the world, and there's 1 billion people eating themselves to death. That's why the principles of macrobiotics, which is what we teach through the philosophy of yin and yang and creating homeostasis, when we have this huge imbalance, it's impossible to have a healthy world, and we can't have a healthy world without having healthy humans. So, what's the answer? In the old days, we used to quote people like Einstein and what have you, and there's such fantastic people that's gone in the past that were vegan, vegetarian. Leonardo da Vinci, Leo Tolstoy, George Bernard Shaw, all these people, they were Nobel Prize winners, and they all had an incredible message. The message was that the evolution that we need to move towards is veganism, and the evolution has arrived, and it's here, and it's veganism, and I'm so passionate about it, I can't tell you, So you don't need to be a Nobel Prize winner to deliver the message, and you don't need to be a Nobel Prize winner to receive the message. So what I want to share with you is some of the fabulous friends and colleagues that I have around the world. I call them my A-team. Many are in the room today. These people have served the world for 40, 50 years, putting out incredible non-violent vegan education. And for me, the only thing we have to change the world is education. Nelson Mandela, the late great Nelson Mandela, said that it's the most important tool that we all have to change the world. Many of these people may be familiar to you. If they're not, they're all just super fantastic people that have a story, whether it's from medicine, whether it's from science, whether it's from human ecology, whether it's from the environment, but they've all done incredible work, and we owe them much, all of them. So, Dennis Burkitt, we all have a story. We're all a product of our life experiences, I feel, so we're like walking history books. As a young girl, I wouldn't eat meat. Mum and Dad had 7 kids, they still question where they got me, but anyway, they fed me dairy, and I was chronically constipated, and by the time I was 13, my appendix burst and I nearly died with peritonitis. Then, teenage years came, 15, 16, having a lot of discomfort again. I had gallstones. So that led me on an area of my life which is very interesting, because now at 62, this is where I was meant to be going with my life when my appendix burst, I guess, when I was 13. I started investigating things, and this man, Dennis Burkitt, has been a huge influence in my life. His work was phenomenal. He did a lot of work in Uganda with dietary fibre and colon cancer. And, his work in this book, The Fibre Man, it's something that you should all read. It's just a phenomenal story. He actually studied, I think, at the same college as the Royal College of Surgeons with you, Michael, in Edinburgh. So there's a connection everywhere we look. There's a connection with something. So another person I wanted to introduce you to is my incredible vegan mama. Now, at 90 years of age, she went vegan. I was on motivation. All my life, okay, she didn't eat a lot of meat and cheese, but she would eat fish, and she would still use milk, and it was her 90th birthday, and we flew up to Scotland for her party, and she said, will you be making the buffet? And I said, of course. And she said, well, I'm going to go vegan. So now she's 93, and now she's like telling everybody, you have to go vegan. It's never too late to change. So, no matter, you can't. There's my mum, who I love and adore, a beautiful female woman creature, but she didn't go vegan because of me until she was 90. So we never stopped teaching, right? We just keep going and going and going. So I want to ask you all, what is your motivation? Because see, when you get your why, when you know your motivation, you will not regress and go back, right? So Mum took to 90 years of age for me to be her why, but she done it, right? So is it about your health? So much disease, also unnecessary. The health is just, for me, everything. Because if you don't have your health, what do you have? You have nothing. Health is everything, And when we see people all the time for counselling, they're dying so young with cancer and heart disease and diabetes, it makes me want to do more, the work that Michael, Dr. K does in the world is phenomenal, and I applaud him and bow down in admiration about moving medicine forward, because that's the way the medical industry have to go. You know, all the doctors that are doing fantastic plant-based nutrition work. It's phenomenal. It's great to see all this spilling out, you know. If it's not your health, is it the animals? Perhaps it's the animal kingdom, the billions of these beautiful sentient beings that are tortured and slaughtered every year. For what? Palate pleasure, because we do not need any animal protein to be healthy. You know, we don't. Decades and decades of being vegan. The same with Bill, Gary Francione, Michael Clapper. There's lots of us around the world. You know, I have energy like someone at 25. People say, Bill, what do? Do you wind her up in the morning and she just marches all day, you know? And because you get your vitality from the food that you eat. The plant kingdom gives us everything that we need. Or if it's not the animals, perhaps you're an environmentalist, you know. Nature is in jeopardy big time. We heard earlier from Bill about that. And, you know, nothing is superfluous in life, not the smallest insect or microbe. Everything is connected. All of us, you and me, the bacteria, everything, the animals. So we're all in this web that we call life. So how do we create harmony within our ecosystem? And, you know, I like to use the analogy of nature. If I was a tree, and, you know, I'm down here, my roots are in the soil, and I'm drawing up this beautiful nutrient-dense, you know, material from the earth, and I'm thriving, and I've got flowers and fruits, but someone comes along and pours pesticides and chemicals and all sorts. My root system dies. Well, it's the same when we look at the human body. Our root system is internal. So the small intestine, the villi, you know, it comes out, brings all the nutrients in through the food that we eat. And it's the same with us. If we start putting chemical additives in all the processed foods and everything in our body, we kill off our gut biome as well, and then we set the process of disease. Or you could be looking at the ecological crisis. What are the causes of the ecological imbalance? And, you know, they covered that earlier this morning as well. Eating a toxic diet creates an ecological imbalance. So we have to start looking back at cultural philosophy. And for me, it's about looking at the principle of the harmonious development of mankind. You know, it could be mankind and mankind, mankind and spirituality, mankind and nature. But we have to have a whole collective consciousness of how we bring all this back together, because we're all connected, the animals, the plants, the humans. Nothing is separate. So, where do you get your protein? That's the first question everybody's going to ask you if you decide to be vegan, if you're not already vegan, you know. And, you know, of course, the strongest animals on the planet don't eat animals, you know. Buffalo and elephants and giraffes and rhinos, you know, they eat straight from the source. So, you know, everything that grows has protein. And the fun thing is for us, you know, when people challenge Bill and I a lot about this, if we're doing nutritional workshops about protein, they wouldn't know protein if it comes and said, hi, I'm an amino acid, you know. They don't even understand the breakdown of what protein is. So when you have good knowledge in nutrition and understand the concept of how the body's built, when you've got all the answers, you can outside somebody that gives you that where do you get your protein question. So what I'm trying to say here is that knowledge is power. Our friends, our relatives, our family, whatever you want to see creatures as, but for me, I have respected creatures, you know, most of my life since I was a wee girl. So, you know, our focus has to be on, you know, if you get that connection, it's actually easy. You don't even have a hassle about, you know, why you're vegan or not. We were working and teaching in Galway a few years ago, and some farmers, vegan farmers, sorry, not vegan farmers, pig farmers, beef farmers, dairy farmers came on our course. They all had horrendous ill health. Dairy food is huge in Galway, really big time, you know, so big fatty liver disease and high cholesterol and hemochromatosis and all sorts. All of these farmers went vegan. I mean, it was dumbfounding. These pigs, who are my pigs now, I saved them from slaughter, and you know, I used to go visit them because the farmers went vegan, and they would run down the field because they are sentient beings the same as you and I. They're happy, clean creatures that love their life, are interested in their life, they're social beings, they sleep together nose to nose. In fact, even mother pigs sing to their young when they're nursing. It's just phenomenal. So they don't eat like pigs, that's a myth. They don't sweat like pigs, that's another myth, you know. We could learn much from these creatures, especially about savouring their food. They eat very, very slowly. What do we humans do? We bite and swallow. You know, it's like the stomach has no teeth. We just don't even give any thought to the food that we're processing in our bodies that is creating who we're going to become. So you can learn so much from animals. Now, no matter where I go in the world, I do love to just have my little mantra out here, and I'm going to get you all to say it along with me. Because for me, if you remember one thing about me today, I hope it's going to be this. Eat food is growing. So after me, if you don't mind repeating, food makes the blood.
Food makes the blood.
Blood makes the cells.
Blood makes the cells.
Cells makes the tissue.
Cells make the tissue.
Tissue makes the organs.
Tissue makes the organs.
And here we be every day. Right? It's that simple. And if you think about that when you're eating, you know, who do you want to be? It's just so easy. High energy foods, vegan athletes, they're growing around the world. Huge amounts of vegan athletes are coming on board now because there's huge benefits. The pro-inflammatory foods by eating a plant-based diet is phenomenal. They have less inflammation. They recover quicker from injuries that sustain. They have more power, more energy. We know quite a few vegan athletes, and they say the difference has been night and day. So that's just another. Plus. I mean, the good news about going vegan is never ending. When we look at food choices and the environmental impact, industrial food systems, as you know, have destroyed the biodiversity because of the whole thing they're doing with monoculture. We're killing the bees and the insects and the birds and the butterflies. But on the other hand, when we're looking at the biodiversity of growing vegetables in agriculture, it produces more nutrition per acre and it rejuvenates the planet at the same time. So, what good news do I have to tell you about this? Again, vegetables store well. You can grow 17 times more food per acre with vegetables than you can with animal agriculture, right? Vegetables don't grow microbes. Grains and beans store for years. Plants are easy to grow. Being a vegan as well cuts your carbon footprint in half. You save about 1,100 gallons of water a day. The good news about being a vegan is endless, never ending. We talked for a while and lived in Portugal. We were in Lisbon, and I had the opportunity because I love growing. In fact, probably the best thing I'm good at in my life is being a farmer. I love growing food. And this was a bit like a patchwork quilt because it was a sandy soil base. But you know, no matter where you live, you can start learning about food. You can start growing whatever it is, even if it's carrots or potatoes or whatever. You can grow food in just about any type of land. In the process, you improve the soil fertility, whether it's sand or soil or whatever. You get great crops, and I use obviously no animal manure, so it's called veganic gardening, which I'm sure you've heard of. If you haven't, it's just vegan organic gardening, so you're not using any animal produce. I use things like vegetable compost and green manures and crop rotation and mulching and stuff when I'm on soil. It's a great joy, and there's nothing more rewarding than eating your own produce. Right now we're in an apartment, so I don't have the opportunity to grow, so my sprouter's out every day. If you haven't sprouted, you should get into doing this. These little units are, I don't know, maybe £15. The beans are pennies. You can mung beans and lentils and chickpeas and aduki beans, and you can make microgreens from radishes and broccoli. It's just fantastic. We add them to all our soups and salads and stews all the year round, so you've always got fresh raw food too. The nutrient density of always adding raw is a good idea too if you're cooking all your food. So, someone's got an alarm on. It's probably me, time to come off. Okay, so Bill and I run what we call a human ecology diet because there's a lot of bad rap in veganism and there's a lot of bad rap in plant-based. What does plant-based mean? It could mean plant-based with a piece of chicken or a piece of fish or whatever. Vegan could mean processed junk, you know. So because the principles of macrobiotics we teach is based on the 5 transformations of energy, which is based around traditional Chinese medicine, our principles are whole cereal grains, fresh vegetables, either fermented, cooked, raw. Sea vegetables are a big part of our diet, so you have a great omega balance, omega-3 balance as well. We use miso, which is fermented soybeans, tofu or tempeh on occasion, lots of beans, fruits, seeds and nuts, and you know, it's just a very, very simple diet. In fact, it sounds awful, but sometimes people say it's like a third world diet, but it is, but it's delicious and it's tasty. And the diversity you can create from just this food group alone is is phenomenal. So, did I miss one there? Yeah, sorry guys. I'm working on two machines here. Okay, so how do you establish a new relationship with yourself? This is the sticking point for everybody. They say, oh, well, how do I change? You know, and overthinking the concept is sometimes more difficult than just doing it. So my suggestion is always begin incorporating some vegan recipes into your diet. You know, maybe start with breakfast, you get that handled, great. Start with lunch, you get that handled. And just keep learning a few new recipes, you know, and enjoy your food and make it exciting, you know. I mean, for me, there's nothing more exciting than learning a new way to live. It shouldn't be a chore, it should be something that you treasure your health to do, you know. I mean, because remember, health is everything. Without health, everything is nothing. So, when you're pressed for time, people say, well, I don't have time to cook, but then maybe you have to look at where your life is at, reorganise something that's, you know, maybe could be taken out or moved, because everybody's running about stressed, pressurised, and the last thing they want to do is come home and think, oh, what a chore cooking. But here's the thing, you know, when you eat a really good, healthy, whole food, plant-based vegan diet, you have more energy, you have more vitality, you enjoy your food, you actually want to cook. You'll fall in love with cooking. Trust me, I don't tell porky pie lies. So, everybody says, I don't have the willpower. It's really not about willpower, it's about skill power, it's about learning new skills, you know. So finding things that, remember, you've already got your motivation. Was it your health? Was it the environment? Was it the animals? Always go back to your motivation, what the motivation was, and that will keep you there. And think about when there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do something, if you want to succeed, whatever it is, your work, your hobbies, your passion, it's not willpower, it's the skills that you accumulate along the way that keeps you in that space. So, women obviously are the sort of drivers of health in the family. We're the ones that push the shopping carts around the supermarkets and things. So, pushing your family towards this way makes life easier if you're all eating the same food. You know, Bill and I often say to clients, if you're all eating the same food, you have the same blood chemistry, so there's a more harmonious, you know, time together at the family table. Maybe everybody's not going to go there at the one time, but it's something to work towards. And obviously building super immunity makes your health stronger by eating this incredible diet. Batch cooking, using frozen produce, you know, there's lots and lots of great tips that are on my website you can download actually as well. The other thing that's important to maybe think about is the taste buds, you know, because people are coming from a diet that's perhaps very heavy in salt and sugar and fat, and we cook with the 5 tastes in our philosophy. So we have sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, sweet, sour, savoury, bitter and pungent. When you satisfy all these tastes on the tongue, you really don't have cravings, you know. If you think about the principles of yin and yang, if you have too much salt, you crave sugar. If you have too much sugar, you crave salt, you know. So when you have this balance of taste on your tongue, you feel very satisfied. So cooking your food using the 5 tastes is a good idea, and you don't need to be a biochemist to put dinner on the table, you know. People are so engrossed with superfoods and I need this and I need that, you know. Live with the principles of the grains and the beans and the pulses and you'll do great. On our website, you'll see there's a course here that you can download. I've put it on for free actually for the next couple of weeks for you guys if you want to download. It's a course that I developed because people were struggling to move towards changing their diet. So it was a course that ran week after week. People would come on a Saturday. They could join, one could join in when it was main courses or desserts or whatever, but they would just roll over until they finished the five programs. And it was just so much fun because they all learned to cook 7 breakfasts, 7 lunches, 7 mains. So I've put all the recipes together. They're in an ebook and it will say 4 weeks to vegan on our website. So please feel free to download it. Because going vegan is not about jumping on the bandwagon of the fake meat and the fake burgers and the processed junk. You will not obtain good health from that. I can't stress that enough, you know. So when you master it, then you become a lighthouse and you start to help other people, because at the end of the day, we're all here to help and assist each other. A lighthouse is someone that's mastered what they want to do and then they'll go and change the other person. And you know, we've got lighthouses now in 27 countries, students that have come to study. They're either teaching cooking, they're working as private chefs, they're doing health counselling, you know, some have opened cafes and restaurants, vegan cafes and restaurants, so the possibilities are endless. So become a lighthouse and help other people along the path. Whole grain for me is like the cornerstone of any healthy diet, and in macrobiotics in particular, George Osawa, who was the philosopher that brought macrobiotics from Japan to the USA in the 50s, and he used the term 1 grain 10,000. It's a beautiful parable because it means like paying forward. So when you receive something, you push it out as much as you can, because you grow 1 grain of rice and it reproduces and reproduces and reproduces until 10,000 grains are abundant. So that's what the value of human beings, that's what we should be doing for each other. Helping, because we're all in it together, no one's getting out alive. Whole grains is a diet for everyone, and I wanted to put up some recipes that I create that are just so easy on whether you're living on, you know, £1 a day, seriously. I mean, you know, I train chefs for royal families, for movie stars around the world, but I work also and create recipes for £1 a day for Action Against Hunger. So I'm not using any different foods apart from grains and beans and pulses. I'm buying some more expensive condiments and things for those that want that side of thing. If you look at short grain brown rice, a phenomenal food, right? Incredible. There's a 2 kilo bag that I buy, and it lasts us for, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks. And I did work it out actually to 16 pence a portion for the rice. So I cook up a big batch in a pressure cooker. I store it in a glass fridge. I store it in a glass dish in the fridge. Works for Bill and I for the whole week. So I'm not standing cooking every morning. People think you're tied to the kitchen sink when you're having to make your food. You're not. When you're planning ahead and you're organised, it's very easy to do. So you can use toppings, whatever, you know, nuts and seeds and berries. This is just a phenomenal way to have breakfast, and you can cook it ahead of time, as I said, for a whole week. So if you move on to things like, you know, making soups. In this recipe, for instance, I used some sweet corn and red peppers and garlic and some chopped onions and things. I mean, you really couldn't even call it cooking. It's more like warming and stirring a pot, right? You can buy the things even chopped in the supermarkets if that's the way you want to do it, if that's desirable to you, you know. But when you make yourself organised and freeze things in batches, then the night before, and I know I have clients that are up at 6 in the morning and they've got 4 kids and but they have simplified their life. They've started cooking, they've started freezing, and things are working well for all of them. So this is all about cooking once and eating twice, and I have created thousands of recipes for my Quick Bites and Quick Bites Busy People cooking workshops, and it works for them. The same with making dessert, you know. You go into some of these health food stores, and they've got these tiny little protein balls, and they're like £2 for 2. It's just completely ridiculous. I make these with chocolate cacao powder, some aduki beans. We use a lot of aduki beans. They're very sweet, delicious, and you know, kids can make them. It's so easy. Roll them, put the stuff in the food processor. They chill well, they freeze well, and they cost pennies to make. And you know what's in them. They're not loaded with a lot of fats or anything else. So, more familiar foods as well, you know, lentils, the oldest cultivated legume. They're pennies. You can make dals and bolognese and burgers and patties and salads. The choices are endless: red lentils, green lentils, brown lentils. If we look at mung beans, which is one of my favourite foods, seriously ancient legume, pennies, £2.25 for a 1 kilo bag. I get 24 burgers from 2 cups of mung beans. I mean, seriously, I can't even work that out, 24 into 225. Okay, you've got to soak them and rinse them, and then soak them and rinse them. They'll expand to double the size. And put them through the food processor with some onions and some vegetables, and then bake them. You know, I don't use any oils or anything. So, and they're tasty, along with some sweet potatoes, you know. Put them in the oven, a little bit of sea salt, herbs, splash of water. You don't need oil. Bake them. You've got a delicious meal for pennies. So it's not expensive. Don't let people tell you it's an elitist way to live. The same with desserts. You know, I mean, the world does live in cake, unfortunately, but we eat very simply. So I use a lot of applesauce or pear compotes. okay, I've dressed this up with some cashew cream and granola that I make maybe for breakfast, but even just out of the jar, it's pennies. You need 2 ingredients, apples and water, and a pinch of sea salt, 3, right? You use the pinch of sea salt because it helps to bring the sweetness of the apples out of the dessert. So, anyone gone vegan yet? Huh? No hands up yet? Oh, one hand. Okay, so cake, of course. Who doesn't like cake? You know, the world lives on cake, but you can have your cake and eat it when it's a special occasion, and these are cakes that I make for special occasions. Birthdays, family, friends coming for dinner. You know, I make them with nuts as a base and use maybe even, you know, some cashews in the centre. The carrot cake's very easy to do. So you don't have to go buy cakes that are loaded with absolute, you know, chemicals and additives. And even in the vegan cake department, some of them can be a bit suspect. So, forgive my self-promotion, but the husband already done his. This is my new book. And endorsed by the fabulous Dr. Kay here and Guy Francione, Professor Francione, many other people you'll know around the world, Colin Campbell, a very good friend of mine, long-term friend, Joe Furman, people like that. So, you know, we speak of producing food, but we don't produce the food. The food of life is only nature has the power to produce that. So, you know, we're only merely assisting, and I think it's a powerful quote. It's my passion and pleasure, and it always will be, you know, to teach people how to get back into their kitchen and go vegan. You know, if you look around, even friends of mine, you know, we have many friends who are doctors, who are surgeons, who are oncologists, they're not doing this, you know, bless them, but they're not doing it. You know, and they think, oh, here she comes again, Marlene, you know. But, you know, you have to want to do this, you have to want to be, it's exciting, there's no other way to live, you know. This is what makes me jump out of bed in the morning. Each time a family or a person or a single person, you know, I never miss an opportunity to talk to anybody. You know, I'm sure the hairdressers think, oh no, here she comes again, what story is this week? But you've got to talk to people and engage people in conversations, because inevitably people talk about whatever's going on in the world. I write to the world. I'm not a Catholic, but I'm writing to the Vatican all the time, and actually it was interesting because now they're doing a whole article on me in the magazine, which is called The Ark. It's a Catholic magazine that goes out to 1.5 billion Catholics, and it's called Go Vegan, It's Easy. So you see, if you don't write to people, you've got to keep engaging people in the conversation and helping spread the word. So that makes me jump out of bed in the morning, apart from my darling husband. And when you're an activist, you should never be afraid to speak up, never feel embarrassed about, you know, who you are or what you feel is, you know, where you fit into your life, you know. I mean, I've probably never fitted into the life of since I was young, you know, but I love my work and I have incredible health because of it as well. So I'm very blessed. It's a win-win situation. If you just keep running blindly with the crowd, like a lot of people say to Billy now, it's too difficult, and, you know, my husband won't do it, or my wife won't do it, I don't have any friends, you know. It's actually nice to be different, you know. It's actually quite boring to be normal, right? It's nice to be different and have a passion to do something else. You know, the other thing that I would like to say as well, I'm not here to win a popularity contest, you know, and that's the thing with veganism, you know. Seriously, there's no money in writing books, you know, unless you sell millions. But it's an educational tool that you must keep pushing out to the world, you know. I stand in the kitchen sometimes and I'm creating things for, you know, I have a course with I work with people on obesity, you know, and we do the work that we can for people to help and assist them, and hope that they'll go on and assist other people. But, you know, it's not about winning a popularity contest. Once you have your vision and your focus, you just go with it and no one will stop you, you know. It's not about, you know, putting down the gauntlet. You just keep going with it. It makes my heart sing daily, and I'm very lucky to do what I do. And the thing that gives me hope in the world is, if we think back to the time in Copernicus, who would have believed that, you know, the world could be convinced that the earth actually revolved around the sun? So that's what gives me hope that we can have a vegan world. So going vegan is just simply a choice that you make. It's that easy. And I invite all of you here today everybody to join us in service for a healthy world, because it's for human and non-humans alike, and to remind you all that education is the best form of activism. So all I can say is go vegan, it's easy. Thank you.